Hi, everybody. Welcome to Design and Dialogue number 46. Today, we are joined by an amazing designer and a good friend, Patricia Urquiola. I'm so excited, actually. This is really an amazing moment. Patricia, I just want to thank you for joining us. It's going to be a lot of fun. As a brief introduction, I'd just like to say that Patricia was born in Spain, but relocated to Italy to study at the Politecnico, where she encountered Achille Castiglione and others, and went on to work for Vico Magistretti, Piero Lissoni, and founded her studio in 2001. Since founding her studio, she has quickly risen to the top of the design world, working for all of the world's most important companies in design across the spectrum of architecture, interiors, products, furniture, etc. In 2015, she became the art director of the contemporary and historic company, Cassina. So with that, I welcome Patricia Urquiola. Hi, Patricia.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Okay?
Ciao.
I say hello to everybody, and to you, Stephen.
Come stai?
Bene, bene, molto bene.
Bene.
I am in my countryside in Spain.
Right.
When I can come to Spain, is always interesting. In this moment, we are going to be a bit more time than normally. Then it's okay. Perhaps I don't come back anymore. We are in countryside. Then, as you know, in this moment, you know the exhibition from Coolers. When we go in countryside, perhaps now we don't come back anymore. Very dangerous, I will say.
Yeah, this is the question. Do we ever come back? Will the world ever come back from this? It's the question, I guess. But you're calling in from Ibiza, right?
Sì.
This is kind of your family retreat.
See, till I was very young, we were always coming here, and we were very lucky, and we were coming here. And I think I grew up with a lot of things I perceive it here, and it's a place that evolved a lot. But it's been very important when I was young. Then it's still being in my heart. And we are in countryside. We are a little bit lost. It's very hot today, really. We are inside the house, because it's impossible to go out.
It's been years since I was in Ibiza. I remember it being, for me, a little bit wild, coming from New York.
Yes,
who's joining you there? Who are you with? What family members are you with?
Well, I'm here with Alberto, which is my husband and partner in life and work. There is Sofia. We have two daughters, the younger one. And we came here a little bit early because my mother was here and she was alone. And then in this period, all of us, we had to share work, life, and family. And that was a very good idea because learning in the last months is how to work through these digital media. My team is still having this relation with me very comfortable. Then I disappear now this month, and it's gonna be a nice 2 months, I think, here.
Yes.
I hope. If they don't close and here, and we have to keep here, then it's we are living in a period very complex. Then there are a lot of homeworks and new ways of thinking for all of us.
Absolutely.
And so there is a friend that came to visit me, and we were making fun, which is Patricia Urquiola, a very good friend of you too.
Of course. Ciao, Patricia.
She's nearby, but I want to say we could use her not to do the talk. And
she has to come and say hello at the end. Huh?
When a few years ago I had the luck to have a little relation with Pedro Almodovar, the incredible maker. And that was just in a moment, but it's not important to explain, but was very, very sweet kind of thing. And we came to visit him and blah blah. It was a very nice meeting for his home, and we were speaking. And at a certain moment, he was saying to me, "But your company," he was thinking I was Patricia Urquiola, but I was Patricia Moroso too. Then both were one person. Like, always I say to Patricia, sometimes we can interchange, perhaps somewhere in other parts of the world. Someone thinks as him, no? Like, that we are both.
You kind of become. Yeah, I mean, obviously, this is a very important relationship for you, and so I mean, you really grew up with Patricia and with Moroso. So
Patricia is this kind of person that believe in you when nobody even see you, no? When you are completely transparent, and she gets focused on you, and you say, well, then perhaps something can happen, and that was like this at the beginning of the 2000, I think. In the change of millennium, she was really a lucky person for me.
Right. So should we have a lot of slides to look at? Yeah. Should we? Should I start the slides?
Yes,
because it's a beautiful slideshow. It's incredible.
If you do everything well, I'm gonna be really surprised, because we are learning each day. I think it's a period of learning. I like a lot that. Yes. Really, we are a little bit, this morning I was doing a conversation, but they were using a new media, and there was a problem. We couldn't do it, all of us. Then we were desperate. And I think it's good because we all are thinking in other ways, trying to understand other ways to do everything, and it's not bad in some way.
Well, hold on, Patricia, you're scaring me now because this is the first time.
if that doesn't work, it's not a big deal.
No. This is the first time.
We're going to tell them other stories. It's not a problem.
It's going to work fine. It's going to work fine.
Go.
Okay, here I go. It's the first time I'm sharing the slide.
But you have to go, not like this. You have to go in the, how do you say, presentation. Not like this.
Un momento. Piano.
Down of the presentation, down in
I
the.
got it.
You have, perhaps, Anna, go there. Anna, go.
Hey.
You like the beginning one. Patri, here I am. We are not always represented by our lovely faces. Those are little drawings with my finger in the iPad that I love them. And over a pattern in a fabric done in the last year. Then we are always working in many medias, no? And at the end, you are this, no? It's part of you. Go on. I get bored from the images immediately, you know me.
Sure.
And this, for example, was in Triennale a few years ago, and was an exhibition. And what I keep on my mind, that I did 2 entrances. It was about time, and my idea was a provocation that people could go inside in the exhibition through a fast track, or through a hole, an horrendous hole. That for me was the curiosity. You get a destroyed hole, or you get through a fast track. It's your decision. Perhaps the fast track is always for us a good metaphor, but it's not so good for discovering things or for getting time lost in an exhibition. Then people in the fast track were coming outside of the exhibition really quick. Then they couldn't see quite anything. That was very fun. The attitude of even the journalists trying to go out of the red carpet and getting inside the exhibition, no, from a side. Then I think was a nice thing to make us think.
That's funny. So tell us about
this is in a gallery of a friend of me. I think it's always so important, our relation. In my city, Milano, this little gallery from a very good friend, Federico Pepe, and he's artist, graphic, he does all the art direction, he does many other things. And
Studio Pepe.
Sorry?
Studio Pepe is his company, huh?
He has this gallery, and Federico Pepe does very interesting other things. Then many times we get together, we do an exhibition. That was my book, And for 1 month, we were sending each other a page of the book, and we were destroying the page, doing little drawings on it. Then people saw the book in another way, dismantled. Then I liked this idea, Cassina.
Well, this is a great place to start, Patricia, to understand kind of how you began in design, like where your interest really kind of started. I know you come from a family of powerful women. I've met your mother. She's amazing.
You met them.
I met them. I know them all. Sophia is my heart. She's so precious. But I want, I just want to kind of get at where this kind of bug for design came from. What inspired you initially to become an architect, to leave Spain and travel to Italy?
It's always so, in some ways, so difficult to explain really, because I think my mind now is so far away of the things that were moving myself, when I was young. Then I try to interpret it, but I think we always invent, because I think the mind of when I was, for example, 13 years old, I remember crossing a park and going through my city, that was Oviedo, a city in the north of Spain. I think I was I'm going to be an architect. There were a lot of things that I remember associated to a place. And in very young age, I think I wanted to be an architect for different reasons. I think never designer, because design didn't exist in my country. No, it didn't exist. You could be an architect or you could be another thing, but not. My father was an engineer, but I had my grandmother, brother was an architect. My elder cousins were architects, some of them. There was a lot of these arguments. So in my house, everybody had an opinion about this. I was one of the little ones in the family. Nobody was listening absolutely to you. Like a lot of crossovers, and you were there, catching ideas. No. And there was not architectura, there was not architecture in Oviedo. Another fantastic reason to do it, because I need to move away. And I went to Madrid, and I was convinced. For me, it was easy to draw and to do things, manualities, things. I always was doing something, breaking things, and I had a brother, an elder sister, she was drawing very well, Lucia too, molto brava. But my younger brother was always playing. I was always playing with him. We were only 1 year of difference. Then I was always doing in a little house, and his cowboys. There were always this mix of a garage, a cowboy space, and a doll house where our monument. We were, that I think was for me my mental space. And we played a long time for that. Then I don't know, families, sometimes this kind of profession for them was normal profession, then was quite natural when I chose to do it. But perhaps they are not so strong reason, it's so natural, no?
Yeah, it makes me think. I mean, when I look at this image, you can only work with people you like. You don't always like your family members,
Yes.
especially at certain moments, but they lead you and they push you in certain directions. And so, when I think about the collaborations that you've had over time, obviously the people that you've encountered have been greatly influential, and I really admire the way that you carry them forward with you, and your working relationships are deeply personal. And so maybe we can talk a little bit about how that nature is just part of who you are.
This phrase with this quote is from Milton Glaser, no? And I always like it a lot, and we use it for an exhibition. It was a kind of dinner we did inside Mutina, that was a company that I'm working for a long time in ceramic tiles, and they are very connected with art. They are very intended in conceptual things, and we did this big image at the end of the dinner, that was a big door, in the company get open, and everybody was seeing that big message that we were giving to them. We want to work in a certain way, and I think was everybody liked it a lot because it was very spontaneous, and we were really trying to create a kind of way of doing a path together. And after 10 years, I can say it's truth, or after 8 years of this event, no? And me, for example, I remember I arrived to Milano. I was a student of 20 years old, something like this. And those were the drawings of my thesis. The beginning of my, and Castiglione was saying, that was my mentor for the thesis in the university, these drawings of Urquiola, I don't understand anything he was making fun. And always saying to his assistant, you have a look, because Urquiola is with those little. And then when I had the luck to do an exhibition about him, no? Now in his centenary 1 year ago, and even a bit more than 1 year. And I use the same way of thinking that in my thesis. Then some things are inside yourself. And they are so strong, no? Are you still thinking about a person? I associate you with moments, circumstances, techniques. I'm not chronological at all. If they ask me to do something in a real chronological way, I say, oh, you asked me. If you put images, put them in a chronological, or certainly with the groups, and I will say, oh, that's the only thing is a disaster with me always. Then I try to do it a little bit. It's
well,
an exercise.
I mean, bravo. The exhibition was absolutely fantastic. I'm a huge fan of Castiglione, and at the Triennale, I think it was a year or two ago, right? And
Sì.
and on your left there is that Federica Sala.
Sì,
Yeah.
meravigliosa.
Yeah.
But you know, after quarantine, time is so difficult to understand. No, it's more in my side, because you say 1 year, 3 years. What happened in the last months? How many years come through the last winter we've done? No, I think in my mind this idea of time is always. It's always that we have to break it continuously, because
I mean,
if you don't do it, perhaps you don't change things in your life in many circumstances. No,
right. We go away from this linear perspective of time, and now things become much more associative. Let's say, like
yes,
you're drawing.
I think. You know, there are times in your life that perhaps you are 10 years, you are working in a certain way, and there is an evolution, relative evolution. Other period, very short, perhaps lame moments with a lot of problems, but then you come out with changes. Then I think, these are person, Maddalena de Padova, the lady is coming. She was introducing in Europe the hymns because she met them. She was producing with her husband, then the husband left away, and then she was her companion was Vico Magistreti, that now is the centenary. And I had the luck because I was seeing them here in Balears, in Spain, and I was always seeing them, in the back of other friends. They were, and they were, I was looking at them as someone. So they were especially discreet, very essential, possibly from another period of another kind of generation, but they were really with a kind of essential attitude. That was very interesting. And it was my first work. When I ended the thesis, I went to work with Maddalena and Vico for 6 years.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
I remember, this is a fantastic opportunity, but I look at this image, and forgive me for saying so, but it makes me think about you and Alberto somehow.
Well, yes, I let you say that. I let you say, but in any couple is similar and completely different.
No. But there's something about the. I understand what you mean, because seeing these mythical people on the streets of Milan and in other places, and watching how they move, and knowing the importance that they have in design. Maddalena's shop, De Padova, you remember when it still existed?
It was fantastic.
It was fantastic. And for me, as a young designer, going there for the first time and encountering Italian design and understanding people like, this couple moving through the world, I see a similar power in you and Alberto.
But Stephen, when you see a person like her, I like it from, just to say to you, the last thing from Maddalena, was very good because she was editing the things they were thinking together. But he was the main designer, but she was the editor, and she was breaking the rules many times. Then I understood that even if you have a strong idea, you have a strong career, and you arrive with your ideas, it's not all in your hand. You have to be open to dialogue with someone who has ideas too. And then they break your ideas. You go back home at the night and you say, my idea was a disaster. Then you rethink it. I think it's good, this dialogue. I go to be in a kind of process of relation. I learned a lot about them in that thing, because they were really discussing. Sometimes she was saying, it's a very good idea, Vico. I think it's fantastic. Go to another one to do it, because I don't want to produce it. I'm not interested in that research. And that, I was suffering listening to that, but she was saying the right thing in that moment. And then it was very heavy and Vico would say, well, Madalena. But they understood each other very well in those things. Then they were very humble, very human at the same time, you know?
Yeah.
Bello, molto bello to see them working.
Yeah. But this idea that the company or the relationship challenges your work and pushes your work forward, I think is one that we can all say, we can all agree was Moroso for you. And still is. I mean, Patricia is still a great friend of yours, and you still are working together. But tell us
he or she is taking care of her.
She arrives in Ibiza. Tell us how this relationship started. I mean, this is around the time when you began your studio, if I'm not mistaken.
You know, I was working with Piero Lisoni after my work with De Padova, with this fantastic couple I was saying to you, Maddalena and Vico. And I worked with Piero Lisoni for 5 years, and it was very, very good experience too, because Piero was like a big brother, always related with many companies. Then I really had the luck to relate to many technologies companies, and to know Giulio Capellini, for example, and people from both, people fantastic, very interesting people. Then always this passion of getting relation with people that they enjoy the process as you. That is not only you and your studio and your ideas, it's you processing ideas with others, which is a very good thing. Patri, in the middle of all this, I came in my life because there was I did a project, a kind of prototype of a sofa for another company, and a person working with her liked it and give it to Patricia, wanted to show to her, and she didn't let me go to introduce to the company. She said, it's mine. Then it was, you know, for someone who has his own voice, that someone really says to you, I want that thing, I'm gonna do it immediately. I think it's been something fantastic for always, you know.
Yeah, this is really a pivotal moment, because, I mean, just to let everyone know, you started your studio, the design world was a very different design world. I mean, 20 years ago, there was no diversity in design. There were practically no women working at the forefront of design, Maddalena being one of them, Patricia Moroso being one of them. I mean, essentially, the profession was dominated by old white men. And forgive me for saying so, but you were working for Piero Lisoni at the time, and you were actually 40 years old when you started your studio. And I mean, imagine telling someone to go off and start a studio at 40 years old today. They would, you know, this is unheard of today, right? But at that time, you know, I'm really curious what propelled you out into the world. And maybe it was this meeting with Patricia Moroso. Maybe it was other.
But you know, Stephen, you know, it's very, at the beginning, I'm a quite sociable person. I want to say that because I think it's important. I was always very able to work with others. Then it wasn't, for me, it was not, I was so passionate on doing something I like it, and to work in a team. I think that is something that many young people today can share with me, because I think we are working more and more in teams and in relation with others. Then what I think for me it was not difficult to, I was not suffering for not having my own studio. I was always in team, and I was always giving my opinion because I had a strong character. Madalena de Padre was always saying to her, "No, we don't do this." To Piero, very, very open in that. But Patricia obliged me to focus on me. That was a very good thing. Then bit by bit, I began to do my own things. And was a marathon.
You were leading Piero's team. You were leading Piero's team in design. Is that correct?
Even Piero was saying to me, Patricia, I think you can work by your own. But I had a little daughter, and I was in a moment of changes of my life. Said, okay, I go on. Then I began to do my things, but I was not fixed on having success or having I don't know what. Then it was something very natural, step by step, and I think it's always the nice way to grow on in a kind of process of work as we have, because it's at the end is the thing that make you became, I hope, a long driver, because you are on a path of something you love. Then in a period you were doing by your own, sometimes with others, perhaps in your own city, town, and perhaps in the other side of the world, as you were in Barcelona short time ago, or I met you in New York. I always say, you remember, with your big rastas, and you were coming in between design and fashion, and you were with them trying to convince people to change, because you were trying yourself to do a change. And I said, oh, that guy is so nice. You remember? And we became very good friends with Patri and you 20 years ago.
Yeah. It's true. It was the very beginning for me. It's true.
Yeah.
But I have to say, your work at that time was like a breath of fresh air, Patricia. I mean, because
thank you.
It's like for us, you gave a generation the freedom to be more expressive, myself included. Yeah, and I remember, projects like the Fjord collection we're seeing here with Moroso.
It was nice. We go on. Now, this was, for example, with Floss. When my first work with Floss, with Piero Gandini, which is not in the image, but he was so important, because completely we want to do this, and he was something that was impossible became possible if you wanted. Then you understood how important was to do the right conversation with the right person in a right situation, because it's not always so evident. Then there is a lot of fight. It's very complex at our work. Has to do with production, has to do to convince. Many times it's the own company which is stopping the process. It's complex thing. You have to love, this. Then we go on in a few. That is a little drawing for a young girl that when I was working with Molteni. That was always the beginning in the 2000, and I love this drawing because there was the double sofa where the couple is speaking. The one at the left. And it's not anymore in production, this product, but it's a sense of me. My sofa was allongé, and the two persons speaking in a kind of crossover conversation. That is my way of thinking.
This is the kind of sofa we need today. I'd be really surprised.
Reintroduce it. Perhaps one day someone will listen to me and will redo it. But that was really in my mind. And I love it the way, this domesticity, this was very nearby my way of thinking. Then is an image that I like a lot. You can go on. This is the studio. And then.
Right. And you opened the studio. I mean, this is a new studio, right? I know that you combined home and studio in one building. What year was that?
Oh, well, you never asked me exactly years.
It's been like 10 years though, right? It's been like
a bit less, about 8 years, something 8, 7, so something like this.
Okay, and I should say it's a little bit like, I'll just give a little insider knowledge, it's a little bit like a panopticon, because through that giant skylight, right, from Patricia's apartment, she can see the entire
you see the window upstairs. But if you know me well, or people know me, it's the last thing that can happen, because more they look at me than me I look at them, because I am, I'm a little bit always lost in the prairie, then. But it's a team, and now with the quarantine, it was a fantastic thing, because obviously everybody was in home. But me, Alberto, for example, my husband could go up and down. We had all this investment in reality, in this Liberty house, which is inside a courtyard. We did a garden in the roof, a roof garden that at the beginning Alberto was thinking I was crazy because I said it's too much citizen, I need green, and now it became a kind of jungle. Then you have the jungle, you have the home, you have the studio all together, and it's a nice thing. I was very proud about thinking my way of being in a city, using all my possibilities, because obviously you can't do always all these things that we were sharing, and it was a very interesting thing. It was nice for my neighbor.
At this particular moment, I think all designers are at home sort of reimagining what domestic life should be,
yes.
right? We're kind of all confronted with the reality of our home life. And here we see an image of the Das Haus at the Cologne Fair. Your project for the Urquiola house, what was it called? The Ideal Home. What was it called?
Ideal Home, yes. It was very fun. It was nice because you had to do a construction or something that was telling your idea of home. But me was scaffolding, just rented with the net of the scaffolding, and we were doing how do you say, hyper scale, out of a scale, a big embroidery. And there was a guy from Australia that arrived to the studio. He was in a stair doing embroidery out of a scale, and the mother called him. And he said, well, I don't tell your mommy what I'm doing, because Urquiola put me here, because he was a very strong guy, and then I was not afraid about him doing this work. But it was very fun to see all this crossover in the studio. Then we were using
a lot of prototypes from your work, and what's fascinating is that you're not only using the new pieces, like the hanging elements in chrome that people see there, those are table legs. You're using table legs in an interesting way, right? But then there's this kind of nostalgia for these baskets from the 70s that used to hang from the ceiling, and but it's reinvented, and I thought it was very clever. It's beautiful.
Well, we can go. This was that. I like this only for one thing, that today we were speaking. We take any magazine. We are speaking. We are reading news about antibodies. No, continuous our antibodies. You've got the antibodies. You are not reactive with. And this was an argument when you have a child. For a certain period, we speak about a lot that because you have your antibodies for the baby, not baby. And I stopped. I said, Patricia Morosa was speaking when they had the phone. Say, I don't speak about antibodies with you one day more. We are going to do an armchair, which this is the chemical symbol of the antibody. Then people was always thinking that the chair was about flowers, but it's about antibodies. Then it was a very fun conversation. And then we began to do this like a kind of, music, because I like it a lot, the idea, because it was a discussion. Then we put some wraps around the same metal frame and became Tropicalia. Then I like it a lot, this conversation with her, because we were very open.
It's very clever to use the same frame for two different collections. I mean, in one, in the Antibody, it's upholstered, in Tropicalia, it's woven.
Reusing what is I was saying, don't ask me for a new frame. We have already one. We do another thing. Then reusing, rethinking from 2006. No, this is a nice thing.
Absolutely. And here you're weaving on a large scale.
That was a crazy one. See, well, it was nice. This, for example, is nice because in one side there is the typology. Which is a little bit, the more traditional of this, the black chair, but became a kind of very complex mold in plastic. Many years ago, it was quite impossible to do it, and was possible. And in another side, you have this family of stools and table done by my friends in Africa.
Botswana.
Yes, Mabeo, which is an incredible guy that we met by chance in a conference. It was a kind of meeting about design and creativity, and we did the project in a second, and I hope the best for his work, because he's a very sensible guy. And
someone absolutely, he's a great guy, someone I'd love to collaborate with at some point. What's curious here is that the Mabeo project is completely made by hand, and then the Cartel project, it's hard to believe that this chair is actually plastic.
See, when this kind of mixed idea that I think is in our conversation, Stephen, they make us understand each other very well, because we like a lot this kind of passage in between what is absolutely artisan or what is absolutely industrial, but looking at them with the same point of view. For me, it's not important. Some person connect me only with my artisan more attitude, other ones with my industrial side. They don't understand how much is a fluid land in between technology and research, handcraft research.
Yeah, when I go back to the conversation about your studio and beginning, at this time when minimalism was the most pervasive,
Yes.
and then all of a sudden you're coming with ideas that say a designer doesn't have to be one thing. A designer can be many different things. A designer can wear many different hats, which is, I think, very much in line with Castiglione's thinking and Vico Magistretti's thinking, etc.
Or even not, because they were very purist and very essential in some way, even if they were opening. But me, I think what is very important, you have to find a way of expression. And I think today, industrial design is a term which is very old. In reality, is the real double word is all the technology connected with the craft education or culture. Then both things, these two things, they get really connected in my mind. This, for example, is obviously I'm a fan and I am a friend. I am a person that love the work from Olafur Eliasson, and this 3M material got inside my project, and the translation of light through transparent materials. Then the Xerox table was coming from other Bruno Munari researchers that I was crazy for his work. Then TAC. These two works, they are two homages to persons that for me were so important. They give me a lot of freedom. They still giving me a lot of freedom. Nice people, incredible people in our community. Or this, for example, it was a very lucky armchair. I will never thought was they will produce it even, because we were in.
It's very surprising for B&B Italia, huh?
Yes, this was B&B Italia. I was doing for them a first research for outdoor, and I was in the company. And I went in Asia, in Philippines, that you know well.
Of course.
And I was there doing for them a collection, much more canasta, much more severe. But the last day, I was so in relation with all the guys doing the work that I said, come with all the things you've done in home, and we are going to do something. And they came with those little circles, that they put under the tree or over a table. And we put them, connected them, and I didn't have so many. They said, we do partially like this. And we did the armchair, like my Emmanuel armchair. And because Emmanuel, I was 15 years old, and I went to sit in the cinema being young. That armchair was possibly in a pocket, a sexual or sensual, I don't know. Who knows? Pocket in my mind. And they produce it. And
this for me is the beauty of working with craftsmen in this way, is that you're learning as much from them as they're learning from you. That is truly about this kind of collaboration, and they can bring so much to the project. And all
they
of the
surprise
work,
me. B&B, they surprise me. Yes.
Yeah.
And for example, the bathtub, I've been working with Agape, which is one of the companies, lovely companies in Italy, which are doing amazing, strong work about design with a very interesting path with a very severe way of working. Then my conversation with Agape was always about, trying to do very severe and simplified. And one day I went to them and said, I was doing a hotel in Vieques. There was this island, military island, that is not anymore military, but was quite crazy place. And I was saying, I'm not going to do bathtub and things. I'm going to put a tin and we are going to do like this. I don't want to go on. And then nobody wanted to do it. Even the Chinese suppliers, they said they didn't want to do it. But it's true. Then I called my friend and Emanuele Benedini, which is a sophisticated man, Italian from the north of Italy. If you see him, he's very, you will never understand well how it's opened their mind. And he said to me, Patricia, I do it. I like it, and then I make it in production. I'm gonna call it Vieques, and then came Vieques. Because then, sometimes you work in architecture, and then a need, which is very quick, and you have to solve it, and
Yeah.
nobody's listening to you. And then you get on the idea that I'm going. I don't put a normal bathtub. I don't want to have bath with bubbles. I want a tin, and we did it. We did it.
I
Then
have
with
to tell
kitchen.
you, a good friend of mine here in Brooklyn is renovating his house, and this is his dream bathtub. So, I might be reaching out to you about that.
If
And then,
it's complex, he can always try now. Perhaps he will find a way to produce it in a very simple way. I think it's something that someone can do by his own, and perhaps in another way.
exactly.
This was with Bofi. Bofi is one of the fantastic company or the kitchen companies that I met them through Piero Nisoni, but I didn't work so directly with them. Then after even quite 10 years of ending my relation with Piero, was nice because they liked to do with me a project, and I thought was a nice reacting, after all this long path. And we did this collection, Salinas, and I like it because it's done in a very sustainable way. There is the inside, which is done normally with this composed of wood that is at the end, the inside of any kitchen. This one is only metal and frame, and then everything is framed. There is nothing inside which is not perfect. Then it's been a very sustainable path, even too much, because they were saying possibly it was part of the limit, but not the limit of the idea, but of the selling side, no? But I'm very proud about that project, very happy.
Mm.
This was a sofa with B&B that has been mythical, and it was very nice. It was they asked me to do a modular thing with this spirit of the 60s.
But this is something completely different. What is what's happening here?
This is my love for how do you say, like, the sneakers. I think my nieces and all our nieces, they will look at us and we say, what about design? Which is not a kind of instrument for communicating, which will be not any form more a phone, but they will understand what is anything related to a sneaker. That is the only argument that will translate our culture from today. Then I was doing my this kind of we make it so much fun, and it was so those processes I was asked by Rosanna Orlandi to do one piece all with wasted material, not coming from plastic. Then we worked with these friends from Taiwan that they recycle a lot of material, and they are very clever, and they really have a good taste even. And the fabric is done. The fabric is done, for example, they are different, all the fabrics and all the elements which are in this kind of a strange shoe, wasting time armchair, they are done with reused materials. Then it was a good way to say, you can always break the rules of your thoughts about rethinking something. Then it's part of a family of shoes or of this kind of chairs connected with this argument that I'm doing. Then it's something I'm doing by my own, and it's a fun thing. I like it.
I mean, it's so refreshing because it's almost. I mean, no one could ever imagine that you would all of a sudden design a giant sneaker, for example. I love it. I love it.
And this is in Costa Rica. Last summer, when we could travel, we've been 1 month in Costa Rica, and it was like a baby, because we were inserted in any kind of natural thing. And this, I remember this leaf, that was so immense, and was it was the only one that was dead, lost after a big rain. And she was there, and she was asking for help, because the whole nature in Costa Rica is so brave. You get into any kind of green and everything, and animals and everything. But she was a little bit, she needed help. Then I like this photo, remember me, my idea of surfaces, materials, patina, research. This is an argument. I always thought that to work in B-dimensional projects as a carpet, a ceramic tile, that will be a more kind of boring thing. And I got a lot of energy from that. then it's one of my prejudices that I break it in my life. And I say thanks, because it's been very educative for me, the bidimensional researches. It's much, I'm working a lot on that now, something like that. This is crystal.
Yeah, two-dimensional surfaces that become three-dimensional
Yes,
in your hands.
If you see this one, there are 4 layers of with a technology that they get all in a very thin surface. It's incredible, the technology. Then at the end, you really understand that today, this, for example, is marble that becomes a kind of silicone or a kind of resin. Then with a natural resin, we are working each day by day to do a much more natural resin. That is a research that is growing with us, and I like a lot. It's beautiful.
I think it's fascinating that you can push the companies to do research, because research and development, I think for most companies, is something that is very little invested in, but somehow you're finding a way.
This, for example, was the earthquake that came through a company, was working with them, and they were so brave that they called me and said, everything is broken. And you see the photo in the back? That was the photo after the earthquake. But we know you will do something with this. And then we did this work, a big inlay, immense, and it's been created a very strong relation in between us, because really we were moving from a problem to something that was a beauty and was interesting. That was and from that day, she sent me a lot of videos. When she has a material which is broken, but it's fantastic, she always sent to me. I kind of wake in the morning and I see a piece of marble break and she's always sending to me. I know you will like it.
What company is this, Patricia?
Budri.
Udri.
It's a company that they do a very first level inlay. They work with even machines with 5-6 axes. Then they work even in 3-dimensional ways. They are really the first level in Italia for this kind of researches.
And in a way, I mean, we see Italian design as being so traditional, but at the same time, they're making advances which are coming more organically, right? Coming more through working.
Those companies, they work with robot. They work in a very artisan way, right, for certain works. For other works, they work with robot of 5-6 axes. Then they really are and they call me when they have a new robot, which is a bit more than this one, and they want to show me what can do. Then sometimes they say too much. I don't have ideas for so much. Then we make a lot of fun. It's very nice. They work now in extra thin marble, which is less than 1 millimeter, and it's a flexible one. They did, and they are working incredible things. Fantastic.
Wow.
Nice people.
It's really the role of, I mean, we say industrial designer because the designer is working in service of industry. And so this range of work is so beautiful, because we see you literally being called by the factory to come in and solve a problem, right? And this is an opportunity, the kind of opportunity that most designers don't get. So to work directly, it's fantastic. So carpets for Sisi Tapas.
This is Sisi Tapi, and they are really, it's a little group of people. It's a tiny, I hope it's always getting bigger and bigger, but was a little company with really a human relation. They have a lot of culture, they have a lot of sensibility, and then you can really research with them. Then I always do very nice conversation with them, and all those carpets that they come. This, for example, is another company. This is a Spanish company. The Sisi Tapi was Italian. This one is GAN. And in this case, is a woman who is taking care. She does everything by her own. She's in India, comes back, and anything she finds, she sent me little messages. That is the good thing of working with others in design. She sent me messages, said, I saw now they have this kind of filter. And I said, no, don't speak to me about filter. I had a lot of prejudices with filter. There was too many things done in filter. I said, no, but we can find a way to do reusing filter and mixing the filter, no? Then we began to regenerate filter. Then was a very interesting new way to do it. Or this, for example, was a Japanese company, the one with the little vases, using 2 or 3 kinds of very sophisticated new ceramic. which is really crystalline. It's a level, the touch is fantastic. And we were working with them. I did a kind of, we've been 2 times, 15 days with them in Japan, and me and 1 or 2 assistants, and we enjoy. I should pay them to do it. I can know that they pay me. But really was, I really, it was fantastic. Oh, this sofa, the sofa from, we are going very quick now.
I'm going. You know, I'm going to see if you can keep up because it's.
Yeah,
it's,
you go.
No,
you know, there was the sofa
no,
from Cassina, all the carpets.
No, it's not a question of time. It's more a question
Go,
of
go,
how is it possible? How is it possible that you're doing
Stephen,
so?
go. You don't lose your rhythm, Capito. Get crazy. Oh, Cassina. Cassina was, as you were saying, from 2015. Is not only my work, but is taking a lot of my space time, which is a good thing to give to a company in this moment. A lot of all my energy. Possibly most of the things we've done together, they will be never physically, but it's really discussing with them, trying from any kind of point of view to help with my. Really in the best way, which is not it's complex. They are companies with an incredible old story, with a legacy, with a lot of foundations.
So we're looking at this is an exhibition designed for the 90th anniversary of Cassina in 2017. Cassina was founded in 1927, and I was there at this exhibition.
I was not there, Stephen. I was not there. You remember?
I didn't see you there. I was looking for you.
I did all the work, and I went to Spain because my dad was not well, and I did. It's the only work I've done that I couldn't see physically. Then I saw it, all of it by video, and that was the Herzog de Meron building, the Foundation Feltrinelli, where we did it, and it was in my mind. But everything went as I wanted, but really I couldn't physically touch it because it was crazy for me.
So this one image for me really sets up the situation. The book was called "This Will Be the Place." You did collaboration with
and you know, Stephen, it was all pink for the beginning. Then you know how to break the rules, the typical. And I said, they're gonna kill me. It's possibly a big problem.
I thought this was the strangest color I'd ever seen, but it really spoke to the future. And I thought it was very interesting how you used the simple technique of color to push us into a place we hadn't been before. Because obviously Cassina, it's a story about, their history and where they are. And I think about
we can go on with
and I think about where they're going. So here we have the headquarters. So but this idea of the future, I think, is very important. Something that Konstantin Gricic said, that your friend, my friend, fellow designer, said, that is, to know the future, we have to know the present. We have to understand the present. And looking at the work that you managed to do, Cassina, I think it's very telling that you have a clear understanding of both their history and their present. And so the future isn't necessarily that far away. It's really a kind of local story.
Here you see Le Corbusier, Charlotte Perriand, but using them in a new way. I hope so. Then my idea was to use the Refuge de Nom in the middle of the space as a kind of new capsule. And today there are places in some deserts and in some very desertic part of the world where they are doing research, and they are using a typology of building, which is really the devolution of this work done with prefab attitude really many years ago. Then there is a lot of sometimes things that can help us to think the future in a very simple way. If you have, you look at things in usual eyes, within usual eyes. And that, for example, was one of my first work with Cassina. I was saying to them, what's your gender? My idea was, are you sure that I have to do a very feminine armchair, masculine? Depends. It's going to be a Zelig. It could became black, or can become multicolored, like a perroquet, can be skinny clear. Then I don't have any kind of prejudice. Then let us call it gender. Then it was a little provocation, but was a nice thing. This, for example, another sofa that we were breaking the sofa in modules. Then we were trying to do a beam. The beam, you could put pieces of pieces of seat, or that was a work of architecture. The main space in the city was with many problems. We had to rebuild it. Now, for example, this is a film done now, the last week before coming here. And I like it a lot because we were doing those little films which are in the videos, but they are in the image in the back. Then we are playing with these double layers of images. And they were looking at me a little bit like this, but I think they like it at the end, the idea.
Well, I mean, the work that you've done in terms of video and kind of digital persona for the brand, I think has been so prescient, because it sort of predicted this time when we'd all need to use digital media, right, to share the news. So
I believe a lot in that, me. I believe a lot.
Yeah, these strange future stories, you know. But we're looking at the 2020 collection, I believe. Your new sofa, and coffee tables, and then these funny videos. I love these. They're amazing.
You can go on, because I have too many images that we have to. I remember the guy doing the video. That is nice, because in my mind, the idea is never a fixed image. Even in a fixed image, I like that something is moving. Then the video on the wall is a very interesting thing. Then we always try to do with the possibilities we have to get something. No, go on, go. I get bored. You can go.
I'm going.
Mira, for example, Stephen, that sofa you were seeing is looking very calm, and it's not a sofa which are big research in a formal way. But the good news were that I wanted to work inside. All the foam, how do you say, the material, which is, and all the elements which are inside the fabric, or everything is recycled materials. Then we were going against the idea of molding always chemical foam, that I think at the end is part of my work doing sofas, and just avoiding that and getting a new path is an exploration. Perhaps even the public don't want it, because people have to understand those things. But I think the comfort and the value of the product are so strong that I think it's a pity nobody can try it, because in this moment, but is everything which is in this image is inside the technique. We are not changing only the formal wow effects. We are working in the way we do the technology. And we were doing in 4 projects the same thing, in 2 sofas and in 2 beds. Then it means that in this moment, I think the company was only thinking about to find new ways of producing things. Then,
what is the sofa called, this collection?
This is my sofa, and I am always
Alberto.
Sì, Alberto existe. Sengu, which is the way that the Japanese, they always do and redo their monasteries, and this kind of sanctuaries. They do put in wood on wood crossed, and then they dismantle, and then in a circular way they redo it another time. That the basis is done with the wood, but my idea was that we have to find new recycled ways of circular ways of producing things and using the materials in that way.
So listen, I'm gonna just ask everyone to bear with us. No. We're sort of out of time, but there's so much great content to share.
No, but go when you do it. Because there is a video very fun. I wanted you to show a video which is after that, which is fun. Go. This was in home. Go on. This is with us. That was in the courtyard in the studio, because now it was all my space. I could go in the courtyard and do the prototypes there. Then they were coming, and I like these images because it was just done in this period. And we had some light, we had a courtyard, and we were using everything. Go on, just to explain.
Your new carpet collection, huh?
Yes, a carpet collection for Sisi Tapi, done with pieces and cozy. And that was, for example, an armchair for Capellini, that the dress is all done with all recycled materials in new ways. And you just put it like a dress, like you put on you a jacket, and you can dismantle everything in a very easy way. That everything is thought, and I think and we were thinking that before this period. Then I was very happy that these products that were already thought and with the right way of thinking.
And it's a bit of an homage to Vico once again, huh?
Sì, the name is Ludovico, lei si chiama Ludo, which is the other side of the name. Or this, for example, was a cabana work we are doing with Hayworth, and we are creating this habitat inside an habitat. That is my project I'm doing for Maxi now, about, you know, living and working in future in our homes. And then it's the beginning, is something you don't have to show too much, Echo, because
I should, and
go on. They don't have to see it too much.
I'm trying. I should mention that we'll be in conversation with the Maxi at the end of.
And this, for example, was a research we did with Hayworth in Neocon, that it was our idea of an office. What means an office in the future? We will be with walls, which will be realistic. Our insides, they will be connected with outside. And it was a mix of images, real and unreal, which I think is very, an argument that we are speaking today a lot.
Yeah, sure.
And yes, and I like it a lot because we did it like a joke. Was coming out with my friend Omar Sosa, which is was working with them for the graphic, and we were a team of people experimenting and enjoying doing it. And that was not so a joke. We were just thinking, I think, about an argument which is going to be: you exist, you disappear, you are not. The walls are really like frames, or they are realistic sometimes at all. You can play with your image. Then there was a lot of things that I believe. Then now I'm happy. Now you can ask me the other things.
That's fantastic.
Because I show you my.
That's fantastic. I love the flying chair.
Yes, why not? Why not? Why not a flying chair? Or you disappear. He was Jacob, one of my the designer working with me, and he was crazy, disappear and get in and.
So listen, I'd love to leave this playing while we take some questions. We're at the end of our time, Patricia. I can't believe how quickly it went by, and it was so much fun. I'm sure we have a lot of questions. I guess I need to, let's see, go to the chat.
I hope they are not so serious now. I call this.
Well, we talked about everything, and I think it's great to end with this projection into the future, because we all need to be thinking about the future now. So if I'm just choosing randomly here, let's see.
The worst one.
Yeah. I don't know if Sanam Sudavar is with us, but he asked about hotels. He's wondering, this is a very logistical question, he's wondering where the Hotel das Stue in Berlin stands. I don't know. I mean, do you know exactly where that is? That's a funny question.
Yes, it's a hotel we've done.
It's in Berlin.
But
Okay.
what you want to know, Echo, is...
Well, Alex Gilbert has asked us a question. Alex, are you... Yeah, there's Alex, of course.
Come on, Alex, Echo.
Hey, I was just curious, is there anything left that you haven't designed that you'd like to? What's the final frontier? What have you set your sights on?
Sorry, I didn't understand what you want.
Is there something you've never designed that you'd like to design?
Something I would like to do, new frontier. I'm very discreet on telling my desires, in the net especially. You know what I mean? Not because only because I could be shy or something like this. No, because I think, I don't know. I hope to keep on quite free relation with people I'm working, and that ask me, I can meet new people that they ask me to investigate in interfaces that I haven't worked on. Then I am very open, and I hope that my real interest is always be sharing my work with people I like. It's the truth that it's very important. Then I can be very easy now. We were trying to go to Nepal with my friends doing carpets. we are not going to go, because now it's going to be a very different, very strange year. But and we wanted to do a work which was helping the people there, but at the same time was doing research and being more in a more deep way with them. But at the same time, if someone is they approach us with some new technologies for any kind of material research, and I think it's fantastic to try some robotic new research, or I'm really open-minded to that. I think I hope I keep in my young new age open to speak with people which they are open to work with teams, and they people that they call you and then they want to do it really, because sometimes there is the interest, but at the end they want only to do, the market is important for them, and that is not the real driver in our work. You need people that they are crazy enough or interested enough or passionate enough to ask you for being brave the most you can. Even if it's a hotel, anything can be anything. You know what I mean? These people, the present people, the surrealism explained us long time ago. There are many. You can do everything with a certain attitude. I don't say that I always got it. And I don't say that I am a person that grows from things I've done which were not perfect. Because then I learn a lot in these cases, because I'm not happy now. I did that this time, and I am the worst critic, Capito. Then if you say I don't like it too, Capito, me, I am immediately like this. But in any case, I remember all the people with whom we were trying to do something. Perhaps what came out was interesting partially, but I know we did a lot of, we were trying to break our rules, and that was fantastic. And that is for me, is general, the concept, no? It's not, I want to do that typology. Because if you want that typology, you will never do it. It's obvious. You want to do hotels, you will do the contrary of that. Possibly.
So
And it's not so bad.
There are a couple more questions. Thanks so much, Alex. I guess they could be summarized in one question that I can ask you directly, Patricia, which has to do with the pandemic, of course. I mean, how do we go on? And how do we as designers go on? And how do we as designers that are used to traveling and working directly with the factory, with the artisans, how do we go on to continue to be inventive, et cetera, if we are forced to continue to work from home, et cetera? So what are your thoughts?
So it's difficult to give a lot of impressions. No, what I think that first we came out of this first passage of quarantine, because I mean in the place I'm living happened like this. We are in a secondary moment. No, perhaps in other parts of the world we are in the first or the strong, still in a very, very, very difficult moment. But what we begin to think in the places where we are getting through a path which is a bit better, and we are trying to have a breathe. No, it's very important. How did you get inside that quarantine? Each one arrived to that point with a different circumstance, and you have to listen. I mean, I try to understand how was the point. What was already wrong in my path in that moment, and we had the time to think. That's the only thing. If you were not invested in the worst situation, many people had the possibility of thinking. Thinking is never bad, and I think it helps a lot. I think it's a moment of strong questions, to rethink part of your path, understanding that perhaps if what you are doing can be complex, perhaps you have to be open to modify to something else, which is to learn something more. I think the process of learning something new in any part of your life, in any moment of, because this quarantine was really democratic from the point of view that we had political, social, and economical problems, all of us. If you have a team, I have a team, a quite big team, and then I had the problem of how can we manage the team? If you were alone, you were more alone. If you were with a certain age, I think everybody had strong problems. But we had time to think, and I think we have to be very, it's getting us a kind of humility, which is never bad. It's getting us the possibility of having a space for thinking and changing. Then, no, so do your own questions, and we will not find answers immediately. You see, kind of artists, they are always very interesting. We have to always look at their attitude. Part of artists, they were on the net doing something, sharing with others. But I think many of them, they are very calm, and they are creating, I think, in the back. And perhaps they are going to give us new ways of communicating, because I think traveling is going to change. We know already. Perhaps was possibly perhaps exaggerate. Then perhaps we have, in the moment everything gets a bit slower or gets a bit different, perhaps we all find a new way to do it in another way. Then we always have to be adaptive, and because the problem, you have it directly, but you have it because a friend of you, a brother, an auntie, your grandmother, you have problems in other ways. Then we have to have time to all these things. We have to, we know about the species and being, I like a lot this phrase of Jenny Holzer, not that I don't say perfectly, but we are delicately interrelated in some way. Not only that we understood we are all interrelated, okay, but important is that we are delicately interrelated. We, our plants, our animals, our life, our relation, our work, then that delicately is so important to understand it, that we have to take care, like a lot of care. No, so. Became more sensible, no, possibly. Less aggressive, economical point of view. But I discuss about that a lot for a long time with people I'm working. They always say to me, you are boring on that. I was very happy, for example, Cassina, we were only working, not a lot, not with people, but we were inside the company trying to get techniques which are cleaning our techniques, trying to do that, for example. Each one can do in his own way, something.
I think it's an opportunity for us all to be creative, for us all to
yes, always
use our imaginations, and for us all to care for one another.
Always.
Always.
See, I always think, even in the worst moment, I think it's very important to learn new ways. To learn. It's very important that, I think.
Hey, grazie Patricia. Grazie.
Ciao.
Thank you so much. This has been amazing. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining. I hope you enjoyed.
Veramente. Ciao.
Ciao.